Not live yet. Yes, we are now on broadcast. You are now tuned in to the Sunday night show of the Winston Dramatic Show, which is brought to you by Omid Gear. You know what I mean? Sportswear. I got a few guests. I got some dope guests for you this Sunday night. You know what I mean? Maybe some good people you weren't you may not have thought that can pop up on the Winston Dramatic Show. You know what I mean? Good melodies, good things going on. Today we have from Mercer County Executive, we have Dan Benson. I heard a lot of people making a lot of noise. Paul, pop him in real quick. A lot of people have been making a lot of noise. Like, yo, you had Dan Benson on? No, I didn't have Dan Benson on, but I got him on now because here he is right here.
That's right. And glad to be here. Really appreciate the invite.
Yes. What's going on with you? I'm glad to have you on here. It's great to see you. Great to hear from you. What's up, Chris Lee? What's going on? Sorry about that, but talk to him a little bit.
Hey, how's everybody doing today? Just happy to join the podcast, being here live, talking about my campaign and my service that I've done to Mercer County over the last 20 years. Served my hometown of Hamilton Township, where I graduated from Hamilton West. All the Hornets in the house, hopefully watching, listen in. Second, been involved. Yeah, there we go. And went to college down in D.C. at Georgetown. Knew I was coming back, wearing my Rutgers, where I went for grad school.
Hold on.
Yeah.
You're a Georgetown Hoya?
Yeah, I am a Hoya. So when it comes basketball, I'm always rooting for the Hoyas. Wow, this year's been a little tough. Last season's been tough. So, but I was there during the Allen Iverson days, so it's even harder on me.
Ring the bell for that. Yeah.
But and so for college football, I have to root for Rutgers. They're doing good for where they started and where they're trying to go. And now I'm always proud of the team there. Got my master's from there. Been working in the private sector for most of my life, doing telecom policy, so tracking internet policy rules and things about cable and telephone and all that stuff. Politically, since the age of 25, I've been in politics. I served at the council level in Hamilton, where I grew up. Served at the county level, what they used to call a freeholder. Now they call them commissioners. And that's why, after 12 years of serving in the state legislature, representing half of Mercer, I get to represent all of Mercer with the support of the people this November, running for county executive.
That's beautiful too. That's beautiful. So you're not actually you actually got the seat. Is it something like that?
So not yet. Elections in November. I got the nomination. We won a convention, huge one with 78% from the Democratic Party. Obviously won the uncontested in the primary. And we, the vote there was really strong. So now we're all laying all the groundwork for a strong victory in November. Mercer County is a Democratic county. We don't take anything for granted. And once elected, I represent all of Mercer County, regardless of party otherwise.
Princeton, everywhere.
Yep. All 12 municipalities.
That's beautiful. I'm gonna ask you some more questions, but I want to bring in my friend Annette Larty as well, so she can ask. She's from Word on the Curb podcast. We're bigging that up as well. So I want her to come in, and I want her to even ask questions. I know you guys are friends as well, but I want her to ask some questions because she knows this position so well. But I do want to ask a few questions as well.
Sure.
So, Annette, could you hit them with a few good questions?
Well, before that, to the neighborhood, what it do, y'all? What it do? I'm here tonight because I am supporting Dan Benson, and I think that's important. Winston to say, and I'm supporting him for good reason, not simply because, but this will be the first time in the history of me being involved with politics that I actually had the opportunity to hear a candidate map it out.
Right.
He didn't just tell us what he was going to do. He told us how he was going to do it.
Right.
That's way different. That's a movement, baby, and that's the change. And that's one of the reasons why I'm supporting this man, because I believe in what he's doing. He's mapped it out. It's clear to me. I'm not a genius, but
Right.
I'm with it. And so I'm real clear
Right.
about who he is and what he's doing. And
Right.
so to Dan Benson tonight, I'd just like to ask, why are you running? Tell me why.
Mhm.
I
So
know.
for me, yeah, and one of the great things about Annette, she's known me since she was on council in the city of Trenton. She knows what I'm about, that I'm not somebody who just came out of nowhere, and a person who put the work in and got to know the territory. And I've always believed, listen, I'm a big believer. You do your homework, you do what you got to do. When you lay out a vision, you also have a half a plan to go with it. And
Right.
so, and it's not just one person. We bring a lot of folks along, and that's on the team. We got a lot of folks that people know, a lot of people don't know, but they're going to. And the whole point there is why I'm running. It's been a long time since we had leadership at the county that brought everyone to the table and laid out a vision of how we're going to not only make Mercer County better, but we're not going to leave our capital city behind. We're not going to leave other towns behind. We're going to collaborate. We're going to find ways to bring more dollars back home, and we're going to invest, whether it's in housing, whether it's in jobs and training, whether it's in education. We're going to make sure that we are lifting people up.
And that's important. And here's another one. Dan, the arena area has been pretty much ripe for development, but
Mhm.
left undeveloped.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about that, because that's
Yeah,
something.
and in fact, about 8 years ago, the county paid money for a really great study to look at what they call the kind of the corridor that's along South Broad Street, all the way up to the border of Hamilton, all the way to the Battle Monument, and
Yeah.
that whole area there. It said, hey, there's going to be some really key development there. The realtors were moving their headquarters there. County College was investing in a couple new buildings. We had a couple new housing going up in that area. And so the whole point was, what can the county do to invest all along that route to make it look good? Well, they had this great plan. It had some short term, medium term, and long term. Unfortunately, it went on a shelf. And I think that's the problem with a lot of government officials and governments. People see these great plans, they end up on a shelf, and people said, hey, what happened? And so my goal is not just to dust things off, but put things into action so people see tangibly how we are fixing things in their neighborhood.
Right. Right. So official, and ring the bell for that. Yep. Annette, some more. You have any more, or
So yeah, I think
go in? Go in.
I think what's equally as important and what I was most impressed with is that Dan understands what the capital city really needs in partnership.
Right.
And
Right.
although it's been talked about a lot, he actually has plans to partner with the sitting mayor or whoever else is sitting
Right.
to ensure that the capital city sees its fair share.
Right.
And by fair share, I mean opportunity, not just hope. We have the hope. Dan is bringing the opportunity. And I'm not easily impressed. And for those of you, I make it do what it do. I understand the neighborhood. I come from it.
Right.
Okay. Uh, Went to a HBCU, graduated, and came back home for good reason. I've got work to do. And I tell everybody, if you got me blocked, baby, unblock me because I'm not finished yet.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
Dan is bringing not just the mic, he's not just tapping the mic, he's
Right.
tapping the table, he's tapping the people, he's tapping the community. That impresses me. And again, I'm not easily impressed, but I'm
Right.
impressed with it. And it's not just what he's talking about, but it's some of the things that he's done
Right.
as a sitting elected official. So Dan, just tap that a little bit for me.
Yeah, no, I think that's a perfect segue into, listen, I did my grammar school K through 8 in the city, went to Holy Cross right there on Cass and Beatty, grew up right on the border of Trenton and Hamilton. So when I ran, I made sure my first campaign office was in the city of Trenton on Pennington Avenue. When I saw that the residents of Trenton resoundingly put in office new council members because they wanted to see a change, they also said they wanted to see a county that's going to work with them. For the past 10 years, I've served on the board of Henry J. Austin Health Center. That's the primary care in the city of Trenton that's been serving residents for well over decades. And I've gotten to serve there for the last 10 to 12 years, making sure that people have access to health care. And I think Annette said it best. This is about collaboration. It's about communication. This is about command and control. We've had enough governments, both at the state level, county, other things, that's just said, hey, we're going to tell you this is what we're doing. We're going to build this thing, or we're going to do that thing. It doesn't make any tax payments into the state, into the city. We're just going to build things that block off good development. And so that's not what we're looking at. We're going to partner with the city as a county and make sure that we get the fair share from the state, working with our elected officials at the legislative level, all the way down, because we all have to be rowing in the same direction to make sure that direction is in a good way for all the people in our capital city.
Absolutely. Let me ring the bell for that.
That's right. That's a so, it's one thing to talk about it, it's another thing to be about it. And Dan has certainly been about it. I have no criticisms of others except to say when it's time for a change, it's time for a change. And today, it's time for a change. And Dan is the movement. It's hashtag the movement. Dan,
that's right.
Let's get it.
And we're bringing people that, haven't been involved in years because they were pushed aside. We're bringing in folks that are young, that just are chomping at the bit. And we're bringing people that have been there all along because they know the territory. And it's important to say, you got to respect the folks that were there doing the work before you. And you want to make sure that we're all involved. And again, that's that collaboration that I've talked about. Putting a team together. When we talk about who our favorite teams are, we know it's not just about the coach. It's about a team that works together, respects each other, and gets the job done.
Absolutely.
And as a community, we don't intend to put the coach on the field and leave him there either. We intend to work with him and partner with him. Another thing that excites me is Dan respects and he recognizes the younger generation is in his view, and for good reason. They have new ideas, they have new things to bring to the table, and they have new skills to offer. And so, when you look at that and you put it together, we've got a great package here, and I'm 100% behind it, as is my family, my immediate family and friends. We're behind this man because he's getting it out. He's not only told us what he's going to do, he's told us how he's going to do it. He appreciates the younger generation, the middle generation, the people older than me. There's a lot of people older than me.
Yes.
and the boomers, and that makes a difference. It's all of us, y'all. It's all of us. It takes an entire team. Dan is the coach. He's the best coach for the county executive position here in Mercer County, and we are a great team to get behind him and get him down. You can volunteer, you can work, volunteer at the office, you can drop lit, you can knock on doors, but more than that, I want you to tell your family that your girl from the neighborhood, Annette Brockington Latif, I'm from the Boulevard. I want you to tell them that I said, this man is all right with me. Okay?
Right. That's right. Ring the bell for that.
Ring the bell.
Yeah. Mr. Benson, I had to ask you this. What was the first thing that you want to really do when you come in the seat? What was the very first thing that you're thinking of?
Yes, sadly, one of the things that we got to do is we got to right the ship financially. We had a lot of missteps over the last couple of years. Turned out the county wasn't paying its federal and state taxes for a number of quarters. The CFO got investigated, and that's still ongoing. Unfortunately, they missed out on getting some free dollars that would help our college in terms of their capital improvements. Thankfully, through the work of the legislators, we were able to get some of that dollars back. But we've really got to do that, because if we're going to dream big and do big things in the county, we got to have a good, strong financial. So some of the first things in the first couple of months, cleaning up our debt sheets, making sure that we have a strong budget in place that invests, and reshaping how we have government set up so that it's more transparent, more responsive, and making sure that we can make those strategic investments, whether it's in housing or economic development, education, and training, because all of that's what lifts folks up across the whole county. Take the assets that we do have that are great, like our parks, like our community college and our technical school, and making sure that they're all working together and talking together so that everyone's not in their own silos, and making sure that folks know about the opportunities. How often do you hear about a program, months after the deadline is done, whether it's for helping for heating assistance, improvements to someone's home, and then you find out, oh, sorry, the deadline's gone. You can't get rental assistance, or you can't get that. The county is the place where we touch everyone so often, whether it's working for folks that are at most vulnerable, or those that are actually doing extremely well and they come to the county for approvals. We want to make sure as they touch into the county that we then use those resources to say, hey, did you know about X, Y, and Z? We think this is important. How do we collaborate for that next level?
All right. So, but I thought that the county, this was one of the most wealthiest counties other than Bergen in the state, right? We behind like that. Yep. I never knew that till right now. I never knew.
Yeah, we have some, there are a number of counties, and that's one of the things. We're about a medium-sized county. We're kind of in the middle of the pack, 375,000 residents, which makes it very manageable, 12 municipalities. But, we have the Hopewells and the Princetons and other areas where you have large property wealth and some income wealth too. And then when you look at like our capital city, where the average median income is in $34,000, $40,000, and the neighboring Ewing and Hamilton, it's double that. And so we've got work to do to make sure that we're investing and giving folks that opportunity to change that narrative, because looking at the averages, you miss the story that's there. And everyone knows when our capital city does well, the whole county does well, because that raises up that median income for the whole county when we do this. So I think we got a great opportunity. We've got a great art scene in our capital and the broader Mercer County region. People come from all over the state to come into Mercer County for our parks, our golf courses, our arts, our music. But you know what? A lot of folks say, oh, I heard about this through a friend, but I could have been there. I could have done that. And so we got to make sure our local talent is being raised up. We have all these great venues. We have the arena. We have the ballpark. We have the parks with, again, the ability to do performances at. We got to make sure our local talent are being raised up as well, rather than just paying money for acts out of town.
Absolutely. I'm with that. And that's what I'm, somebody. Well, you think the same, both, yes. Local.
And not only do we have the talent here, we have the promoters here too. We have the folks that know where the act is.
Absolutely. It seemed like it died in the 90s or something like that. Like it's no more since the 90s, man. We want bands, we want groups, we want everything, and it can be a business. So what I'm thinking also, I'm asking, what you think about small business? Are they able to be can the state stop stepping on their necks so hard? Like, can they give them little breaks? Some breaks. Small business help the cities and the areas.
Well, we've done a couple of things. One, if it's a pass-through business, these are folks that take their income from their small business. A couple of years ago, when the federal government changed their taxes, the Donald Trump tax changes, that hurt a lot of small businesses because it limited how much they could take as a deduction. Along with Senator Sarlo, we changed that so that they could actually get that tax break again. That's helped a lot of small businesses that do that. Where the county really, though, can be a big help is on access to capital. As the interest rates have gone up, it's gotten really hard. Banks have gotten tight. And remember, a lot of community banks, they have a portfolio, they have goals for community lending. So we partnering with banks, we can partner with the state bank as well to make sure that access to capital is there for entrepreneurs, whether they're fixing up homes, whether they're building affordable housing, whether they're building market rate housing. We need all of that. Secondarily, if they're starting a new business and they can't get access to the bank, we want a revolving loan system through our debt service to make sure that people have access to that capital, because we know when people can do that, they can then actually thrive, and then they pay it back. And so when they pay it back, it pays it forward, and we all do better.
It helps.
We got a question here for Route 29.
Rachel Cogswell, how you doing? I have a few questions.
Sure.
Rachel says, what's the plan for Route 29?
So the long-term plan comes, people are trying to get, hey, Corey, they're trying to get it to the place where they can slow down the traffic, reconnect to the waterfront. And so in order to do that, there's a number of things we have to do. We have to take the assets we currently have at the waterfront. That's the rebuilding of the wharf that's ongoing right now, the fishing wharf. It's taking our Trenton Thunder Stadium and making it something that's year round that can be more accessible to everyone, not just for baseball games, but reattracting a AA or a AAA baseball team, which we can do. And that stuff's already started. And when you have a good anchor, that means we can then fill in the spaces. We got to get Department of Education out of that area there so that we can then put that up for redevelopment all along the waterfront. We got to reclaim the land that's between Route 29 that DOT currently owns and is using for construction materials. It doesn't look great, but we got to get that. So, but there is a plan for 29, working with the capital city, working with our state government. We got to get everybody in the same place. There's, a lot of pushback on making that a boulevard on 29, but at a minimum, we got to make it so that people have a chance to reclaim their waterfront. It is their waterfront. Absolutely. And a lot of bad decisions in the 50s and 60s and 70s kept us from there. It's our waterfront. We want it back.
So right now, we are in the midst of building everything that people will see in the future. We're in the midst of building it right now, right?
Now is the most important time because we're getting the studies done. Boulevard's going to take a long time. So we have to make sure we're doing the investments of the property that we have access to now and show. And so some of the changes that just happened with the state budget makes our capital city more eligible for economic development grants as well as economic development loans. So when we bring in developers, we bring in the input from residents so that they get what they want rather than people just telling them what we're going to put in there, and making sure that we use every space there to bring in taxable ratables for our capital city. Because listen, folks in the city are paying more than their fair share, and we've got to bring in that economic development to take some of that burden off of people.
Right. I can see that.
Let me just chime in here. Dan just said something really important that I don't want to go over anybody's head.
Go ahead.
That is this simply. When he speaks to ratables and bringing the business to town, that's dealing with the structural deficit that's kept us down.
Oh, okay? For all them years. I
don't want you to miss that.
And the county's got to do its fair share. We own a bunch of property in the city. And it doesn't pay taxes. And so, we have to look to see what are things that we can put back on the rolls. How can we be a catalyst for investment on our own property so investment pays back to the city?
Okay. So, Corey Ingram says, will you guys reopen the youth detention center and bring our kids back home?
That's hard, but there's a piece to that. So right now, we send everyone to Middlesex. And the youth detention center currently is actually being used for other types of services. Right. Here's the deal. We've actually been trying to reduce the number of folks going to detention center. So the number of people we send is down over the years. Our goal has to be to make sure that is as small as possible, just for those folks that are either a danger to themselves or to others. Everyone else should stay in the community as much as we can. That's the best first choice. Right. In a similar manner, I opposed, and we're killing the plan to shut down our adult population prison and sending people to Hudson. I thought that was a bad plan, both financially, and I think it was just the wrong thing to do from a civil rights standpoint. So, but that means now we've got to take ownership of that. Overtime is the worst in the whole state for the correction center. We got to take control of that, repair what we can repair, figure out what we're doing with our prisoners, and make sure that we get back to those reentry policies that we hear a lot of politicians talk about. But without a strong program, you get that cyclical issue that we don't want to see anymore. We can break that cycle, work with families, work with our community partners, work with our churches, and make sure that we don't have to send large numbers of folks to other counties, keep them home. And this way we make sure we get people jobs, we get them training, and we get them back on their feet.
Right. So you all for the getting them back trained, getting prisoners back trained,
and we used to do some of that, but as the plan was to close, it seemed like we kind of moved away from that, and so now we got to put the focus, the spotlight back on.
Okay. You all, So y'all should listen. Y'all should listen on here. Rachel Cogswell says, the vision should be the vision should be is the stakeholders, community service providers. I'm trying to read all of it. And this is not a country, but a city. However, the hotel. What about the hotel? That's what I had to ask.
And so and so the hotel, that's a really difficult one. We should be a partner on this. We don't own the hotel like we do around the ballpark and that land. So hotel is a real big challenge. We want to make sure that this is where the county can be a partner through our economic development department. We should be going out to hotel owners and things and saying, hey, please look at the city. Just like Doug Palmer did back in the day to bring the hotel here, they took it to Marriott and said, hey, this is a thriving community that can sustain a hotel just as it did in the past. We're at that point where the city can sustain a hotel, but we need both investors and we need the support. Can't be just government always putting money into these things, particularly when we want to make sure that this is something that is going to pay taxes, be a gem in that downtown, but also be something that we can then piggyback off other economic development. So it may be something where we've got to do things around it more while working with the city and the state to really highlight the value of that. Now, my understanding is there are people looking at that site, whether they're the right people or not, that's something for the city to decide. But I think, again, people are now starting to look at that site again because the location is so good to so many of the things that people need, whether it's going across the bridge, staying in the city, or being able to get up 29 onto 295. It's very centrally located.
Can I ask you this real quick?
Yeah.
This is shot, right? This is
no, that's fine.
A casino in the county somewhere. Where can a casino go? Because it helps old folks.
Yeah.
It's supposed to help education. Talk about it.
So for folks that don't know, legislature has to pass. Every single time they tried to pass legislation to have casinos outside of Atlantic City, it's been shot down. And so that's kind of been a dead issue for a while. I don't expect to see it in my first term. But obviously, I know the mayor, when he was an assembly person, he was like, hey, if they can put parks that close, we might as well put one on the waterfront. Much the same way Philly has one on their waterfront.
Absolutely.
We're not there yet. I think we need to see AC really kind of stabilize more. And so there's a lot we can do that's not around gambling, but is around entertainment, like I said, and that kind of a place for people to go. And remember, listen, there's a lot of restaurants and bars and other kind of nightclubs where the sports gambling, everything else that people do on their phones doesn't mean people can't do events around those types of things and then work through it. So there's ways we can do things, particularly around big sporting events and others.
I can see you because your youth is you younger, so you can see certain cuts and certain angles of doing things without it hurting anybody or hurting.
Exactly. And the nice thing is with the online gambling and sports gambling, some of that money always goes back to Atlantic City. Absolutely. So it's about making the whole state stronger.
Absolutely. Let me ring the bell for that. My guy Corey Ingram says, what's your plan with the opioid crisis in the county?
It is serious, and I know we talk a lot about the Capitol, but this is not a Capitol problem. This is a whole county problem. This is a whole state problem. This has been a problem for a long time. When I first joined the Assembly in the State House in 2011, one of my first bills was the Opioid Overdose Prevention Act, making sure that people could have access to Narcan, naloxone, the opioid reversal drug. Back when I first joined, nobody had that drug. We wanted to make sure that first responders had it. So working with Senator Vitale in the Senate and myself, we passed that bill. We also passed the Good Samaritan law that says if you dial 911 and you stick with a person that's overdosing until help arrives, you won't be charged. That was really important to save lives. Now, when I passed that, I got to be honest, I thought we were going to save a couple hundred lives. We've been saving tens of thousands of lives. And what does that tell us? That tells us that that's wonderful, but what does it say about our society that we're willing to save people when they're at death's door, but we're not willing to put the investment in when they first get addicted? We know you don't have to hit rock bottom to get services and come out of and get into recovery, but it takes services, it takes access points. You got to try a bunch of different places. You got to let people fail and bring them back in. but people can keep their jobs and keep their families while getting in recovery. And so a lot of what the county does through its human services is to do grant dollars that flow from the federal and state government into programs around recovery. Now, I've got some great partners. Anthony Varelli, who's one of our state assembly people, representing the city of Trenton and representing half of Mercer County, has been very active on recovery issues, not just for opioid, but for alcohol and others. I've worked on this issue for 12 years. It takes key investments so that, one, the barriers to entry to recovery is low, whether that's medically assisted recovery or not. Making sure that folks have access to harm reduction is a big piece of it too. So there's a lot that we can do on that.
Right. I think Rachel Cogswell asked about ghost guns.
Yeah, ghost guns these are guns that don't have a serial number on them, that are flooding into our inner cities, generally from southern states. It's a really big problem. We are working with our attorney general. First was to make sure that our new law that we had to pass on gun safety came about, because the Supreme Court said, everybody can have a gun everywhere. We pushed back on that and said, no, Second Amendment, no matter how you feel there, says that we can regulate when it comes to public safety. And so we were upheld so far in the courts from one of the circuit appeals courts, saying that we can restrict guns from playgrounds. We can restrict guns from schools. There are people out there that wanted to be able to carry guns when picking up their kids at the school. It was madness. We're still trying to keep people out of bars. Now, remember, if you're a private business owner, you're allowed to restrict firearms and weapons from your establishment. And so we got to partner with our business community to do that as well. Ghost guns, it's really about working with our prosecutors, our sheriff department, our local police department, with the task force that the state has, and really just identifying them as they do come into our area, and we can confiscate them and work to track them back from where they come and hold people responsible.
Okay, cool. So check this out. Since you're gonna be the executive of Mercer County, so every township or city you're gonna deal with individually. You're gonna have to remember everything that's wrong there.
So it's not my job to fix everything. That's
what I'm at. I'm like,
I've had a lot of folks that say, hey, well, Trenton needs this. And I said, well, I'm not the mayor of Trenton. I'm the county executive. My goal is to partner.
Right.
So I have to work with all of our 12 mayors. And so they tell me what's wrong, and I make sure that and that's one of the things that I think why I was able to get the nomination. So many of our mayors said that the communication broke down with the county. So whether it was simple things like learning about new county programs, or making sure that when there was access to be able to use capital as a partnership, or issues that crossed municipal boundaries, like the large warehouse that's proposed next to Quaker Bridge Mall, it's called Bridgepoint 8, that people are concerned about, that it's going to impact Trenton, it's going to impact Lawrence, Hamilton, West Windsor. And so when you have those cross-border issues, the county can create that dialogue early so that we don't run into playing catch up. And so that's kind of the role here. Like I said, it's never command and control. It's not top down. It's got to be. And listen, the law says it. The mayors and the council members, they're the representatives for each municipality. The county's job is help bring people together, whether for shared services or directly with the town for shared development, and for where we can get federal and state grants, really being a partner for investment into those 12 municipalities.
So, I'd just like to say to Corey, yes, I can absolutely assure you that the future, our next county exec, is interested in meeting with the community, hosting town hall meetings to ensure that there is a connection. I think what's important to recognize here is that Dan Benson wants the flow of communication. He's open for it. And he has been ever since I've known him. So
I feel my job is to be as many community events I can. Obviously, I've got a family, got a wife who's a wonderful professor at Drexel University. I've got a 7-year-old who just finished 2nd grade, about to go on to 3rd grade, turns 8 next week. But from there, it's really important for us making sure that I'm out in the streets, I'm out at community events, so people can say, hey, I know him. He's the county executive. I got a question. And making sure that we kind of work with different folks. But we want to make sure that people can reach out to me in multiple different ways. Some folks want to come out to a town hall. Some folks want to do a teletown hall where they call in and we call out to folks. Folks want to set up meetings. We got to meet people where they are, because otherwise you're only going to hear the loudest voices. And we want to make sure that that's not what we're doing. And we got to get to people, particularly those that oftentimes don't have a voice. When I was chair of transportation, still am at the assembly, my first hearing was making sure those with disabilities, those that were transit dependent, were there to testify about what were the barriers that they saw in investment. And again, centering this around the people that often lack the voice is how do we elevate and make sure we get problems solved. Thank you, Rachel. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Miss Marge, how you doing, Miss Marge? Crystal Feliciano, how you doing?
Hey, Crystal.
Yep, everybody's up here to see Dan. Dan's the man. So,
by the way, Marge is, when she ran in '98, the first time she ever ran for council, was one of the first races that I ever volunteered on. I was a young college kid and really got to work hard on those, and then ultimately see her elected. And it's just great to, making sure that, over the years, same thing with Annette. When she was on council, it's just it's nice that my hair's a little grayer now, but I still got the same amount of energy and a lot more wisdom, hopefully.
You're too young to go way back like that.
Oh no, listen, I've been doing this for a long time. People are always surprised.
Right. Yep. Miss Cordelia Staten is on the the bill right here. There she go. Miss Staten says hello. Yep. Dan has always been supportive of the capital city. He's a true champion for Trenton. With his leadership, the county will flourish and all the people will benefit. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I hear so much great things about you. And I'm thinking that you are the future, and whatever you're thinking for the future of everybody that's here is going to be great. It's going to be great. I mean, Rachel says, Dan, so much love, proud of you. So we've been on for what, a half hour? You got anything you want to say?
I just want to close out. This is just the beginning of a conversation. As you said, I'm looking forward to coming on again later in the summer or early fall. I'm trying to get out in all the different communication channels that I can, because I know both your podcast reach a lot of folks. All the events that I do, you'll be seeing me over the summer at community events. We'll be hosting a bunch of events throughout. We're asking people to join this movement, become a Benson backer, help us win in November, but then help us govern, whether it's in a transition from November to January and then onward for a 4-year term, because, it takes that movement to not only govern, but make sure we're governing right, we're governing justly, and we're governing without leaving people behind. And again, this is leadership that works for everyone. That's my belief. That's my mantra. And we're going to keep doing that. It's because I've got great partners like Annette and like a lot of the folks that you just saw kind of writing in. And you heard, they all have what things that they've got to do. And they see that there's a role for the county, even on the things that it's not the county's job, but we have a role to make sure we're a partner at each of those steps and not being a barrier at any time.
Absolutely. We love you too, Rachel. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we're going to exit. We're going to exit.
Before we
to have you on, Dan. It was so great. And like you said, you'll be back on once you get in, you come back on and we'll talk more with the folks, with the people.
Absolutely.
Spread the words.
And before we move out, I'd just like to say to the community who's listening now and who will be listening later, look for some of those exciting coffee clatches. We're doing them a little bit different this time around. And I'm sure you're going to find, some of those clatches coming up to be interesting and engaging. So please be on the lookout.
Right. Before you leave, Annette, I want you to say your show and the time. Give them the time. And Mr. Benson, I want you to give them your email. You go one at a time so people can reach you and they know who to reach to. You know what I mean? They know.
No, absolutely.
Okay.
Go ahead, Annette. You go first.
My podcast and studio is Word on the Curb. It's about people, places, and things, and all the things that we're talking about out here, whether it's politics, whether it's government, whether it's education, whether it's support services, whatever it is, even some of the controversy, we're going to be talking about it, because in sharing about it, it gives us the opportunity to hear other people. And I think diversity is key, and that makes a difference in everything we do. I am happy to be here with you tonight, Winston. I'm looking forward to having you on soon.
Transparency.
Yes, some of the people who chipped in.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Yep. Mr.
And
Benson.
I'm just going to say, I'm easy to get a hold of. My email address is just my name, daniel.benson@gmail.com. That's my personal email. Feel free to write out to me if you got ideas, you got questions. Also, if you want to join on the campaign, I'll flip it over to our campaign volunteer support, and they'll get you involved. Like I said, our headquarters is right on Pennington Avenue, right near the Y. Folks know it, right there in the West Ward, and we want to make sure we're in every nook and cranny of our county. So we want to be there. And so join us, join the movement, and help us build a better county that works for everyone.
Yes, sir. Much love and respect. City of Trenton, I'm giving you two great people from my city that have strength that you can speak to. You can if you don't know, these are the people that you do talk to, and they can direct you. Miss Staten, I love you. Thank you so much. You helped me do a great job as well. And we see you guys next Sunday. I think it is. Yeah, next Sunday. We'll see you guys next Sunday. So thanks for coming on. Thanks for viewing. And y'all have a good night.
Thank you.
Great night. Thank you so much.